mean, it's so funny because I told you I just did a coaching call with someone, and one of their last questions was basically this of like, why does being good matter or something, or like, does it
Mhm.
matter? And and there's actually a Dalai Lama quote, I think. Another Dharma teacher told me this, so maybe that person got it wrong, but they told me that there's a Dalai Lama quote that uh, it's a complete mystery that out of quote unquote emptiness or truth, there is compassion.
Mhm.
It's like as we become more true into reality, there just is love and compassion. That is
Mhm.
that it just is, and it's a kind of a mystery why that is. I guess another way to put it, I actually did a grad thesis on Western philosophy and Buddhism, and this quite actually it was actually about this question
Mhm.
of like
Mhm.
in Western philosophy, there's this emphasis on freedom and truth, really on freedom. We care a lot about freedom. But the question I asked was, it makes sense that I should care about my freedom, but why should I care about anyone else's freedom? Like, where does the ethics come in of why I should also care about someone else's freedom? Shouldn't I just maximize my own freedom? And that may come at the cost of other people's freedom, but so what? And I think one of the possibly Buddhist answers or spiritual answers would be as we come into truth, we see how deeply interconnected we all are, that none of us actually are alone or could exist independent from everyone else and everything else. And when we have that sense of wholeness and unity, then there's just naturally a sense of love because we are all connected. We are all one family. I only exist out of the compassion and work of everything else throughout all space and time. And so naturally, there's a stance of like deep gratitude and care. Developmentally, in terms of practice, I think people can start more on the awareness and truth side, or they could start more on the compassion side. And I think there's actually failure cases on both. People
Mhm.
could do the awareness thing and go into like this disassociated witness thing I mentioned earlier. And I think people can also overemphasize on the compassion and have like idiot compassion of being like a caretaker and thinking they're being helpful when really it's actually hurting themselves or others. And
Mhm.
so I think ideally you actually need both. And I think in the end, if you take one or the other path fully, you end up with both. But I think also practically, like developmentally, most people probably do one or the other to start
Mhm.
as like their focus. Um, I think that's fine. Yeah,
Mhm.
as long as you're like aware of the pitfalls of either way.
How do you see relatefulness? Like in my view, I'm like, oh, relatefulness is a practice that invites us to continue down both the
Mhm.
awareness and the compassion journeys. But I wonder how do you see relatefulness as a practice supporting that continued unfolding?
Well, I think one of the things that like Jordan and Mike and others did was make it very explicit that this practice is about truth and love and goodness and beauty. That is that's the intention. Whereas I think
Mm.
in the past, well, I mean, a lot of times there wasn't any explicit intention, and so there was a lot of implicit intentions of like
Mm.
following whatever I want to do, which can end up in all kinds of places. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I think there's something different that happens when like people's minds naturally want to gravitate towards one value of like it's this is just about aliveness or this is just about
Mm.
desire, this is just about freedom. But in reality, there's actually multiple values. There's a whole forest of values. And so holding just the prior thing we're talking about truth and love, If we hold those
Mm.
both as values that aren't in contention or aren't conflicting, but then it's like we're seeing through two eyes instead of just one eye,
Mm.
and it just shifts. And I think most of the, like all the relateful facilitators I've practiced with, I think hold this sense of like, I really want to be with what's true, and I want
Mm.
to do that in a caring way that doesn't create unnecessary suffering or create like wounds or um,
Mm.
justifies itself through saying like if you feel hurt, that's just because that's the truth or something. It's like no,
Mm.
we want to we want to care and we want to do it well, and we also don't want to sacrifice the truth for
Mm.
people feeling comfortable. Um, so like how do we hold both of those values together? Um, I don't think there's like a prescription for that. I think that's just like a that's like a
Mm.
something we hold both at the same time and we act from to the best of our ability.